Hala, ndio utaweza kwenda katika ule upande wa M-Pesa my account change pin. Itakwambia
Hi guys, you can see I have John, Patrick, Robin, and Solis. Mwangi just joined in. So let's have a few minutes so that others can join. So meanwhile, did you guys manage to do the installation successfully? If anybody could be having any challenge, you can raise it now before we start. So Patrick, did you manage to do the installation? Hi, Patrick. And Robin, did you manage to do the installation successfully?
Yes, I did.
Hello, habari yako?
Cool.
Mambo nipe na
And Solis?
Yes.
Cool. Mwangi, did you manage to install successfully?
Alice, this Patrick, I managed. Sorry, I was muted.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that's cool. And John, you can hear us. Did you manage to install
Actually,
Python
I'm
successfully?
in the middle of the installation right now. So before the class starts, I should be done.
Cool. If it's installing to in a few. So we can have like 5 minutes and then we start. So we shall start by a brief talk from our coach trainer, Timothy Oredo. And then once, because I can see all of us managed to download the Python successfully, we shall get started then. So just a few minutes and then you start.
Yeah, thank you, Alice. Hi, everyone. How many are we expecting more to join?
Yeah, let me counter check.
All right.
So let me just have 5 minutes. I check with a few.
No problem. So yeah, so in the meantime, we can start so that we make use of the time efficiently, because I know Ernest has already joined as well. So I will so we can do the introductions after everyone has joined.
I just have two apologies from Farzin and James.
Okay.
They'll be following up with the recordings. I think they'll be engaged on Saturdays. They'll be joining us in the they'll be just following up with the recordings. The two of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that means we can start.
Yeah, I think we can get started now.
Fine. All right, thanks. Okay, so yeah, good morning once again. So I think I wanted just to formally welcome you to this program and thank you for making the choice to join us in this 12-week journey. So mine is just to briefly take you through the course and the company itself, and then be able to see how you can be able to benefit from the resources that we have. So before I do that, just wanted to get to know each of you on the call. So maybe we may just introduce yourself quickly, and then we proceed. So I'll just make note your name. So we can start with the Mwangi. Just a quick introduction about your name, where you work, and how do you hope to benefit from this course? Patrick?
Good morning. I'm Patrick Mosembi. I'm in the financial sector, that is banking. And, I expect to benefit from this course on the line of data analytics and basically that. So that is what I'll be looking forward to gain in the course of this training. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Patrick, and we look forward to have you on board. There is John.
Hi everyone. My name is John, and John Kanyiha, and I'm an entrepreneur. I have interests in e-commerce business.
E-commerce. Okay.
But my background was, or at least is still in in the world of computers. So I've had some experience working for some corporate, and I want to have a chance to sort of use data as part of my life in terms of decision making in my entrepreneurial world, and I also look forward to expanding my skills in terms of career growth, just in case I want to switch to data consultation and such. So those are my two goals.
Thank you, and we look forward to have you on board.
Thank you.
Then we have Mwangi. Are you ready? If not, then Robin. And then.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Robin. I work with Safaricom. Basically, I'm in customer experience. So basically, the whole idea, what we do in customer experience is to ensure that the customer has good experience with our products and services. When they onboard to our services, everything is good as far as the customer is concerned. So basically, we are the eyes of the customer. We do get a lot of customer data, and that's why I think I've joined this program, just to be able to be in a better position to do a lot of analytics as far as the customer data is concerned, and maybe even do things like churn prediction, customer ethnography, things like demand reduction. So it's something I'm really looking forward to, and I hope to get the best out of the program.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. And yes, of course, we have quite a lot of tools and creativity you can get with the data using the skills that we're going to impart. So looking forward to have you on board. Next, we have Soles.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Soles Shitemi. I have a background in analytical chemistry, although I'm currently unemployed. I'm looking to gain a new skill.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Soles. And yeah, it's good that you're joining this program because it's going to give you an extra competitive edge as you step out in the job market, and yeah, even through the network that we'll provide you. So we look forward to have you on board. Yeah. So I wanted just to start. I think a few of you will be joining later, and then maybe we can introduce ourselves at a later stage. But I only have about 15 minutes with you. Then I'll be leaving to join another group. But in these 15 minutes, I wanted to take you through just a short presentation that's going to provide an introduction to you. So with me here, you have Alice, who you've been communicating with, and there's Ernest, who's going to be a trainer. So Ernest, you can say something.
Oh, hi guys, my name is Ernest Musyoki, and I'll be your trainer for the Introduction to Python course.
Yeah. All right.
And also my background is in computer science. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So Ernest, can you talk about your journey? So Ernest was actually in the same space you are. So he was a student with us till around March, right?
Yeah. I finished in March with cohort 8. Yeah.
Cohort 8. Yeah. So we always encourage you to develop these skills because we're expanding, and we have an opportunity for you also to come back and get some return on investment. Yeah. So your investment that you've done in paying for your training, you should be able to see the same working through for you. So yeah, that's one of the options that we give you when you come through these journeys. So I wanted just to share my screen now. I believe you can be able to see my screen, everyone. Okay.
Yes, we can see.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so we'll be sharing this presentation right after class. We've taken you through the tools that you will need. You've set up an account. Have you had an opportunity to do a quiz yet? Because we also have a quiz exam, a quiz platform that we'll be giving you every week after each of the sessions. So in case you get stuck, the team is there to help you. But mine is first to just take you through the company itself, what we do, and then proceed to introduce this program. So we are 3 years old, Predictive Analytics, and I founded this company in 2017. That time I'd just left corporate. So I'll give you a short history about my background, but let me talk about the company first. So we primarily do four things. So first we develop softwares. So we've got machine learning softwares in different areas, in HR, customer care, supply chain, finance. We have different sort of softwares. We'll give you access to some of those softwares to use from time to time when need be. One, as part of the class demos, and then secondly, in terms of helping you to understand the application of data science in business. We also do knowledge sharing. So this program is part of the knowledge sharing platform. We started off by developing softwares, but we were spending so much time in boardrooms educating clients what the softwares do. So we figured the best way for us would be to develop some training programs, which we can use to educate the different corporates and professionals that we interact with on what this data science is all about. So we've developed different programs, as you saw in the introductory letter. We've got the custom training programs, we've got certified training programs. Our program is certified by NITA. Yeah, so I know a few of you are joining in from the NITA angle, where your organization has sponsored you, and you'll be getting reimbursed once you get the NITA, once you apply for the NITA reimbursement. Yeah, we also have other certifications that we run with other partners. Yeah, for example, Big Data in Hadoop, Mapar. Yeah, we have LinkedIn certifications, and many others that continue to emerge. University of Nairobi is our knowledge partner. At the moment, we are running a program there. There's a bootcamp that we're running for 6 weeks, certified by the University of Nairobi. So after you finish it, you'll get a certificate from the University of Nairobi. So even this program, you have that option. So we'll share with you the certification criteria so that you can be getting a certificate of data science from the University of Nairobi after you finish this program. So that's another option that comes at the end of this, after you sit for another exam. We also develop strategy. So the strategy helps us to put close to the heart of application of data science by the corporates. So this strategy revolves around things like data governance, operationalization of data in the fields of HR, finance, marketing, and even as a whole organization. every company has got a marketing strategy, HR strategy. Now we are also spearheading the adoption of data strategy. Last year, we had a data protection law signed by the president in November. And most companies, especially in the customer-facing side, consumer-facing side. So for example, if you're in the customer care department, you may need to look at how you interact with your customers, how you secure your data, and how you communicate with them, because there could be a risk of litigation if you're not securing that communication with the adherence to the guidelines given by the government. So we specifically help companies do that by developing a data governance strategy. Then lastly is data science as a service. So this one, what we do is we help place you in companies. Yeah, so we have a platform for jobs. Actually, you can check it now, jobs.predictiveanalytics.co.ke. You can go and register your profile there. We also have companies that come to put their jobs on that platform, and then we match you. Yeah, so we help companies hire for data science service. We can come and interview for your company. We also provide this talent. So as a resource who has gone through our program, we guarantee you in terms of your skill set. So you can go to a company and work with our approval. Yeah, so what we're trying to do is being able to develop a talent pool that can work in different organizations. So these ones we do across. So our lab is in 4 African countries. So we are in South Africa, we are in Kigali, Uganda, and Kenya. Yeah, so we have representation in those countries, and we serve clients across those regions. Yeah, so feel free to interact with us in any of these spheres. I know we're here for the training, but also if you want to know something about software development, you want to know something about strategy, or if you're looking for an active placement, go and list your profile on the platform that I've mentioned. We'll be giving you more details on that as time goes on. So a little bit about myself. So I'm a certified data scientist by the MIT. So I got my certification in 2016, 2017. Yeah, it was quite costly at that time, having to do this program at the MIT because there was no local program available. And because of that, I had to come and set up a program because I felt like these skills are needed. And there wasn't anyone locally providing those skills by then. In the last 2 years, we've had a lot of colleges coming up. Yeah, so you've had the likes of Moringa and many others that you'll see. But we pride ourselves in having a program that basically targets professionals who are working or just looking about to work. Yeah, if you look at the other programs, they're mostly for guys who are in high school, campus, transition. But our program specifically targets professionals who are working. And how do we do that? So we do that through my experience. So you can see here that I'm a certified business coach. I'm a certified coach at the Strathmore Business School. I got 2 coaching licenses from ICF and WABC, where I've used a lot of these experiences to design the program that we are giving you now. Yeah, so using the same skills I've gained in the corporate sector. So my last 2 roles in the corporate sector were in the Nation Media Group, where I was the GM for broadcast, and also at Citizen, where I was the head of digital, where we were able to launch platforms such as ViewSasa and Shabiki, which is a betting platform. And at that point is when I quit now to set up my own outfit. And combining this with the skills that I have, I'm holding a PhD in corporate governance. I've been able to design programs specifically for the data science in that in mind. So I also hold other certifications. So for example, I'm a chartered marketer. I became a chartered marketer in 2009, I think. Yeah, where I was able to provide interventions for companies in terms of marketing, plus other certifications that I have. My background is in mathematics and psychology, and that's what has used to leverage on the skill of data science. And I've been able to develop these skills from time to time. And just from the experience that I've had, what we learned in the university degree is not exactly all you need. Yeah, so it's only a fraction of it that you need. So irrespective of whether you have a background in mathematics or not, you don't need to worry because we got you covered. You don't need to worry about the depth of the mathematics that we'll cover in this course. Yeah, so we already have pre-prepared libraries. This program is basically for business-oriented professionals. We've got professionals coming from marketing, finance, HR, who've gone through this program. so far we've had over 400 students who've gone through our program, and I can guarantee you that only a few of them, maybe 50, had a background in computer or mathematics. The rest have been really on the business facing side, and those are the ones who have had a very good experience. Yeah, so I've also authored a book, so you'll have access to this book. It's on the platform that we shared, the 4IR one. Yeah, so I wanted to just talk about the career. So how many of you have encountered this fourth industrial revolution? You know, we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, and a skill that is required to help you navigate the fourth industrial revolution. So we have primarily the evolution from the first, second, third, and fourth. Fourth now is where we are requiring you to stop writing your proficiency in computer programming, computer packages in your CVs. Now we expect you to start writing proficiency in Python, R, and other programming languages and artificial intelligence in your CVs, because that's what will make you competitive. Yeah, so as you continue working together, I want you to realize that this is a new dispensation. You are among the earliest of the earliest to have this skill. In future, this Python will be a common course to everyone who's preparing to come to the workforce. And why do we use Python? So we use Python because it's open source, it's free, and it's easily achievable. There are other many automation tools out there, but unfortunately, if you're going to work for a company that does not have a budget to use, for example, Oracle, SAP, or Microsoft, so does it mean that you don't have this? You don't have to use the skills of data science. So that's why we prepare you using Python, so we're able to liberate you from any foreseeable challenge in future when you hit the job market. So I'll skip this, but I just wanted to share with you the careers. So these are the kind of careers that you will expect in data science. Yeah, so you have the data business person, you have the data creative, you have a data developer, you have a data researcher. So you'll see on this top side is the skill. Then on the rows are there what kind of qualifications you need. So if you're not a business person, you'll need more experience in business. And then some bit of experience in machine learning or big data, some bit of experience in mathematics, operation research, and then programming, and then statistics. So depending on where you're coming from, entry, because I had one of you mentioning that they're coming from a programming background. There's one who's coming from a marketing or customer care background. There's another one from finance background. Yeah, there's another one from a analytical chemistry background. So you all can figure out where you fit in and where to invest your energies. So what we've done in our program, we've balanced each of these to give you exposure. And then after that, now you go to a more advanced level, you're able to specialize. So you can decide you want to be a data developer. So this means you go into data engineering, and you'll be seeing programming is done more at that level. If you want to do data research, then it means you be heavy on statistics, which is now the red. Yeah, so this grid will guide you in terms of where you want to gravitate more towards, but we have a bit of each of this in the program. Again, this is how it looks like. So these are the courses in each of these. So you'll see in business, your product development, going to unstructured data in big data. So here we use Hadoop, MapReduce, machine learning. In math and operational research, so this one will be doing linear regression at a later stage. Then programming, you will be doing backend programming, but when you go to the advanced stage, you'll be doing front-end programming using Django. And then statistics, your visualization, surveys and marketing, spatial science, data manipulation. So all these are tools we'll use in statistical thinking in optimizing business decisions. Yeah, so again, this is where it looks in terms of careers: developer or engineer. Data researcher, you can be a researcher, scientist, or statistician. Data creative, you can be a jack of all trades, an artist, or a hacker. Then data business person, you can be a leader, a business person, or entrepreneur. Yeah. So I wanted to end my presentation there. Just if you've got any questions, I'll be sharing this presentation, and then we can pick it up from there. Yeah, so I wanted to see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Timothy. This is Patrick.
Yeah.
My would be, you have mentioned that you partner with the other organizations like to train on other areas like Hadoop and so forth, big data analytics.
Yeah.
So are we going to benefit from this as well?
Yes, you are. Yeah, so we'll share with you the program and certifications, and we prepare you for those exams. Yeah.
Okay, so it will, we can arrange on the sidelines. Maybe it's not part of this, but if somebody wants to benefit from such, they can do some special arrangement with you, so that they can get the training and the certification.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. Any other question? Okay, so if there are no other, I'll hand over to Ernest, and I'll beg to leave the meeting. And I wish you a good time. But let's continue interacting. So my details, I'll share with you the details of.
Thank you.
All right. Very good.
Okay. So I think we can start. Okay, so this is the first module called Python programming. It's an introduction to Python programming, and what we're going to give you here is what you require for the coming modules. That's module 2 in NumPy and Pandas, which are going to be used for data analytics in this course. And so in this module, we're going to cover an introduction to Python. We're going to get started writing simple codes and use comments in Python. And also I'll introduce you to the Jupyter Notebook, which I think you have installed. Then we are going to proceed on to Python data types, variables, and the print function. And also again, we're going to look at the control structures in Python and the functions in Python, which is going to be our last topic. So I think I can introduce Python. And so what Python is a programming language. By programming, we mean programming is the process of giving instructions to a computer so that you can direct it on what to do. And that is computer programming. And so a computer program is that set of instructions that we have given the computer to tell it what to do. It's as simple as that. And so just as we humans have our human languages like English, Swahili to communicate, and so do computers have their own language. And so we have to give instructions to a computer in a language that they understand. And this language is what we call the programming language. We have some examples of programming languages. We have languages like C, C++, Java, we have JavaScript, we have HTML, and also we have Python, which is the most popular one these days. And so Python is a high-level programming language. By high level, we mean that it is human readable. Usually it is written in English language, and also we are going to use mathematical symbols to program in Python. That is what high-level programming language means. And also it is multi-purpose. This means that it can be used in different variety of domains and fields. That is, Python can be used in the finance sector. It can be used by scientists in scientific research. It can be used for data analytics. It can be used to visualize data. It can be used to create softwares. And so that is Python. Has a wide range of applications in our world today. Also, it is used in robotics mostly for machine learning and artificial intelligence applications. And so next, we are going to look at the characteristics of Python. And the number one characteristic of Python is that, as Tim mentioned, is that it is open source. That means that it is free to use and you are free to add any contribution to Python. Let's say if you learn, if you've learned Python so much that you reach a point where you can write and you can contribute, you can add some libraries, let's say, you are free to do so. And it is interpreted. By interpreted, we mean that it is translated from the high level, that is the human language, to machine language at runtime. And so, like in other languages, once you write your code, it has to be compiled and translated thereafter after you write. But with Python, as you write your code and run, during runtime, it is translated directly to machine readable language. And so that makes it fast in its application. And so we have another characteristic of Python, which is that it is multi-paradigm. And this means that it supports different programming styles or architecture. By programming architecture, we mean different applications, different application of programming. We have object-oriented programming architecture, we have functional programming architecture, and we have sequential programming architecture. And so all those are supported by Python. And also the next characteristic of Python is that it is multi-purpose. And that means that it can be used in many different fields, as I mentioned before. It can be used in the finance sector. It can be used almost in every field. And also Python is cross-platform. That means that it is supported by most of the operating system. If you have a Mac OS, if you have a Windows, if you're using Linux, Python programs can run, and also you can write Python code using those operating systems. And also another thing about Python is that it is dynamically typed. And that means we don't have to declare anything. We don't have to declare like data types as they are automatically inferred during runtime. For this dynamically typed, we are going to encounter it once we enter into the practice session. I'll be able to show you what this means. And also the next characteristic is that it is indentation aware. And so Python uses indentation to mark code blocks instead of parentheses and brackets or semicolons. And also this, we are going to encounter this later on during the practice session, which is the next session that is coming up. And so another thing about Python is that we have Python libraries. And so by libraries, we mean modules, or modules, essentially that modules that contain functionalities that perform specific tasks. And so we have this scientific stack, and this is a collection of scientific library, you can say that. And this library is like an easier way for you to, they are built to provide you with an easier way to perform specific tasks. We have like NumPy. With the NumPy is numerical Python. And this library, it's Python that is tuned to perform complex numerical tasks like calculations and counting. And also most of the times, it usually deals with arrays and linear regression and Fourier series, those complex mathematical stuff, usually under NumPy. And so also we have SciPy, which in full is scientific Python. And this is a collection of libraries that implement standard functionalities in scientific fields. In scientific field, we mean like finance, Also in scientific research, we use SciPy, scientific Python, that is, because we have functions that they are functions that are built in SciPy that are used directly in a direct application in the area of finance and scientific research. And the next library that we have here is Matplotlib. Matplotlib is part of Python. That is a Python library that is tuned to perform visualization. And so as data scientists, we are going to perform a lot of visualization so that our data can tell stories using pictures, using illustrations, and that we are going to use Matplotlib for visualization of data. And next we have PyTables. And for PyTables, mostly it's usually used in storage and retrieval of databases, of data in databases. It's essentially that, but for PyTables, it's almost, it has been integrated in these other libraries and modules. And so we are not going to have a look at it. We are going to look at NumPy, Matplotlib for plotting, and Pandas. And so Pandas is essentially what 80% of data science work where it's done. So we use Pandas for data cleaning, data analysis, yeah, and mostly that. And also for statistical calculations, it's usually done in Pandas. So we can get started with Python. We can now head into the practical. And so for our practical session, oh, were you able to see my screen? I see that it was paused at some time.
I think this is John. I was able to follow through. I saw your screen.
Okay, Asa. Okay, so now we are going to head into Jupyter. Let me share my screen. Okay, so now we are going to head into the practical session. And this session is mostly practical. That's how you learn Python. And so what we are going to start with, were you guys shown how to install Anaconda? Or do you have Anaconda in your installed in your systems? That is.
Yes, we have installed.
Okay. Okay, so you're going just to open up the Jupyter notebook, which comes as part of Anaconda. And so we just search for Jupyter. And normally it's usually a good practice that you pin. You can just pin it to your taskbar so that every time you want to use it, you just, every time you just want to use it, you just come to the taskbar where you can easily access it. You can just pin to taskbar so that every time you want to launch it, you don't have the hassle of going to the search bar and doing all those searches. Just comes down here for you and just click on it and it will open up. Yeah. And so this is Jupyter Notebook. As you can see, it has opened in your browser. And so I hope all of us were able to launch it.
This is John. My Anaconda is still installing, so I will just follow through as you work with the others.
Okay. So. Okay. So I think we can start, and then John will follow up. Okay, and so this is the Jupyter Notebook home directory, and Jupyter Notebook usually runs on your browser because it's a local server. By local server, I mean that you see, once you launch it, we have a script here running. And so we have the local host. This is a locally host server. And so Jupyter Notebook is like a locally host web application or web application. And so this is what runs Jupyter Notebook. And you see when you close it, Jupyter Notebook closes. And so let's say if you do any selection here, nothing will happen because we have closed the application or the script running Jupyter Notebook. And so I can just open, can just start again. Okay, and so here we have the Jupyter Notebook homepage. And so in the homepage, we have different tabs. We have the Files tab, running tab, and the Clusters tab. And so in the Files tab, as you can see, we have the files and directories of your home directory. And so here we have in the Files tab is where we are going to open and create Jupyter Notebooks. And so usually the first thing that you do is to set up a folder. And to set up a folder, you come to the new drop down, click on it. A drop down will come, a drop down menu, and down there under other, you select folder so that you can set up your folder whereby you can store your files for which we are going to be using during the course of the course. And so your folder comes under a new folder is created under the name untitled folder. And so for you to change the name, maybe you want to have it labeled, give it a name that is relatable to you. What you do, there's a check. You check the box on the left of at the margin of the untitled folder. You check it, then scroll up, and a rename button, a rename, move, and delete button appears. So you can do all this to that folder. So for us, we want to rename this folder to data science. And you click on rename to rename it. Oh, it already exists, so we can just give it another name, data science. Let's give it the name data science 12. So you rename it. And so you can just click on the folder so that you can go into it. And so inside the folder, what you can do to create, we can create our new notebook that you want to use for this class. And so what you do, click on new, Python 3, notebook, click on it. And a new notebook is created. Okay. And so a new notebook is created with the title untitled up here. And so beside this logo in the header, this logo here, we have the title of the notebook. And so let's say if you want to change it, in our case, you want to change it you just click on it. To change the title of your notebook, you just click on the untitled name that is here just besides the logo of Jupyter. Come here, click on it, and we can just rename the notebook name. And so for this, we're going to rename it to Python programming. And click on rename that way. And so, as you can see here in our Jupyter notebook, we have different bars. We have, this is the menu bar, which contain file, edit, view, insert, cell, kernel, widgets, and help. All this is the menu bar. Next here, we have the toolbar, which contains the save symbol, the add symbol, the cut symbol, copy, all this. This is the toolbar. And so this is a cell. This is what we refer to a cell in Jupyter Notebook. And inside this cell is whereby we are going to write our code and notebook. And so this setup is called a Jupyter Notebook because it gives you options to write notes, to write code, and to perform visualization all in it. And so you can do your data analysis using this Jupyter Notebook, whereby you write your code to perform it, visualization, to visualize the data. And also we are going to be writing some notes on it so that we can explain what is happening in our analysis or what our visualizations are saying about the data. So it allows that. It allows code, notes, and visualizations. And that is the unique thing about Jupyter Notebook as compared to other programming interfaces. And so the cell, as you can see here, usually has two modes. One of the mode is edit mode, and that mode appears when you want to write code. See, when you want to write code, you can see we have a blinking cursor here. And so this means now we are in edit mode. And also it comes in another mode called the command mode. And command mode usually is used to manipulate how the cells appear. And so there are things that we can do in command mode that we can't do in edit mode. In edit mode, we can only write code. But in command mode, we can perform some cell manipulations. So we can change the cell from code to Markdown. That is the options. Markdown is used for writing your notes. So I'll be showing you just in a moment. And so cells usually comes in two modes. One, edit mode for writing your code. Two, when you click outside the field, the edit field, you're going to get your cell appearing in blue at the edge here in blue. That shows that we are in command mode. And so in command mode, we can delete a cell. So to delete a cell, you just come here. You just come here. And this is because we have we have only one cell. So let's say you have cells like that. So if you want to delete a cell, what you do, you come to edit and delete. So you see one of the cells has been deleted that way. And so we can also copy cells. We can also merge cells. We can also undo. Maybe you have deleted a cell by mistake. You can also undo that. You can also move your cells up and down. I'll be demonstrating all this. and so on. And so we have edit and command mode. So maybe you can start by going through this. And so we have the file menu, and under file menu is where you'll be able to, maybe you want to create a new notebook. What you do, file, new notebook, Python, and a new notebook will be created for you. Yeah. Next, if you want to open an existing notebook, you click on open, and it will bring you to the current directory that you're working in. And there you can select, or you can go back to your home directory and enter to a folder where you have saved your notebook. Next, we have make a copy. Let's say you want to make a copy of this notebook, and so that when you make changes, it doesn't affect your original copy. What you do, click on make a copy, and a copy of your original notebook will be created with the dash copy word just attached to it to indicate that it is a copy of your notebook. Next, we have save as, whereby you can save this notebook. You can give it a different name in a different directory using the save as option. We have rename. The same way we did rename here, you can just come in file, under file, and you click on rename, and it gives you an option to enter a new notebook name. And so next we have save and checkpoint. For save and checkpoint, this one saves your file and creates a checkpoint where you last left off, so that in case that you make some errors going forward, you are able to revert back to the checkpoints which you created that way. And so also we can print preview. We can print our work as PDF or using your printer. So the other thing is download us. For download us, give us an option to share our notebook with others. Let's say you want to get a file you want to create a file from your work, that is your notebook. What you can do, you can come here and select the different file options that are provided. So we have PDF. You can download your notebook, your work as a PDF and send it to other people, or you can just download it as notebook, so that someone else can be able to run it in their Jupyter notebook when you share it with them. So we have close and halt. This one is for just closing the notebook and stopping the program, that is the server, from running. Next we have edit. Edit normally deals with cells, and the edit commands are usually done in command mode. Also, they are done on cells which are in command mode. So when we are in edit mode, we can't perform these operations on our cells. And so it needs to be in command mode so that you can perform these operations. One of the operations is to cut cells. We can copy cells. We can delete cells. We can undo deletes. We can split cells. We can merge cells above and below. We can move cells up and down. We can edit notebook metadata. We can find and replace, and so on. And so next we have the view button. And buttons in this menu help us to hide or display the headers, toolbars, and the cell numbers. Maybe you don't like this configuration that is here. You can configure it using these options that are provided here. And so next we have the insert menu. So the insert menu is used to insert cells above or below your current working cell. Let's say you're working on this cell and you want to insert a cell above, just click on it and a cell comes here above it. You can also insert a cell below. And next we have the cell menu. The options in this menu, let a user run. Let a user run cells. You can run and select below. You can run cells and insert below. You can run all cells at once using this option. You can run all cells above your working cell. You can run all cells below the cell that you're working on. And so next here we have cell type. And this is something that I'm going to introduce you now. And so cell type, we have the code, raw markdown, and raw NB convert. This raw NB convert is not normally used. It has been outdated. And so we have code and markdown. For code, the code option of cell is whereby you're going to write your Python code and run. And so for markdown option is whereby we are going to use the markdown option to write our notes. So maybe I can show you. So by default, when cells are created, they usually come in code option of the cell. And so if you want to change this cell to be markdown so that you can write some notes on it, what you do, you come to cells, cell type, and markdown. And now it is markdown. So here you can write some notes. And so when writing notes, let's say you want to start with a title. So what you do for titles, you start with a hash, and write your title. Hash, after hash, space, then the title name. That is title. And so after doing this, we just run, and you see we have our title here. And so normally titles come in different levels. This is level 1 title. We can have level 2 title, level 3 title, level 4 title, level 5 title. And so we just run this cell, and you see now the title is in level 5 title. That is smaller as compared to the 5. So we're going to write our title, which is Introduction to Python. Yeah, and you run the cell. See, we have our title there. And so next, after that, that is the head. We can also convert this other cell to markdown. Another way to convert it, to change the cell option to markdown, you can just select on the cell that you want it changed. You come here, you see there is a drop down here with code. You click on it, and it will give you options of the cell that you want to select, the cell type that you want it changed to. So we have code, markdown, raw, NB convert, and heading. Heading is just what we did. And so we have markdown, just click on it, and it becomes markdown. And so here we can just, we wrote the title, so we can just, after that, write our notes after the title in this. And so we can write this is the introduction. Python notebook. And after that, you run. So this is your notes. You can create as many lines as you want on this notebook, on this markdown cell. So next we go to the kernel button here. And so the kernel is what runs the show in the background. So this is the Python program that allows you to run and detect errors in your while writing your Python code. Next, we have widgets, and from this menu, you can save, clear, and download, or embed a widget state. And also we have here help, and with help, maybe you want to learn more about this interface. you can take a user interface tour by clicking here. You can look at the shortcuts that are the keyboard shortcuts that are provided here. And these are the keyboard shortcuts, but I'm going to give you like the 5 most important shortcuts that we are going to use in this. And so these are the shortcuts. Next, we look at the toolbar. And so here in the toolbar, we have the save as represented by the save symbol. We have the add, and this means that this plus sign here means that we want to insert a cell below. So when you click it, a cell comes below your working cell. And so we have cut, that one is for moving cells, cut and paste. We have paste, yeah.
Sorry for interruption.
Yeah.
Can you come again on the kernel? I did not get you right before you went to widgets.
Oh, yeah. So with kernel,
yes,
kernel is the application that runs the Python code. Is what runs this. It's what runs everything here. So when you write your code and run, it's what that is what the kernel is doing. The kernel is what is running the show in this notebook. We can say essentially it's the real Python that is working behind the scenes. So when you write your code and execute, what happens is that the kernel is the one which is executing that code. And also the kernel is responsible for detecting errors in your code. And so in cases whereby you are running your code and you get that it is taking forever, or it is taking a lot of your memory resource in your computer, you can interrupt the kernel from executing that code by clicking on interrupt. You can also restart the kernel in cases where you encounter an error. Let's say you have something that is not a package that is not installed in your notebook. And so we can restart and clear output. You can restart and run all. You restart and run all the cells in the Jupyter notebook. Also, you can shut down. When you shut down, we essentially have shut down the Jupyter notebook, because the kernel is the program that is behind the scene that is working, which is working to execute and run Python code. That is essentially what a kernel is. I hope you have got.
Thank you. It is clear.
Okay. So we were here in the cart. We have the cart. This one is used to move cells, cut and paste. We have copy. We have paste cells below. This is copy, paste cells, and this here we have move cells. We can select this cell and move it down using this option. We can move it up using that option. And so next we can run. We have the run button here. What run does is executes. It executes your cell. It runs your cell so that it can execute the code. We have stop, and these are all shortcuts to use when you want to interrupt your kernel. Maybe you have your program that is taking too much time to run, or it's taking a lot of resources, it's using a lot of your computer resources like the memory. You can use the stop sign here to interrupt or to stop the kernel from executing. Also, there's another option here. We can restart our kernel using this restart button. So we have this button which looks like a forward symbol. And so what this does, it restarts your kernel and runs all the cells again. And that is the user interface of Jupyter Notebook. So is there any questions, maybe any clarifications? I'll be happy to answer. Because before now we can go to the real coding. Okay. So I hope everybody is already set so that we can start coding in Python. Also, if you need some help in setting up your Anaconda, maybe you can just ask so that as we start together in this. So everyone is okay until there. So we can start. So we can start with an introduction to Python, that is, and the first thing that you're going to look at now we are done with the first topic and the second topic. Yeah, no, we are still in the second topic, and that is getting started with Python and writing comments in Python. And so you can just have a quick start here. So we are going to write our first Python code, and I'm going to explain some things while we write it. And so what you can do in your cell below, you can write print. After print, include some brackets, and inside the brackets include some quotation marks. After that, you just type the words "Hello World." Yeah. So this is our first Python code. And so what we have done here, we have instructed the computer using this print function to print for us the words, to output for us the word "Hello World" with the exclamation mark there. And so here print is a function. And so what a function essentially is a piece of code that tells your computer to do something. So print function. And so function is a piece of code that carries out a specific task. In our case here, what we have done with the print function only specifically prints words and statements, or even numbers. It prints out to our the words, statements to us. As you can see here, we have the outputs. So what has happened is that the print function has printed for us the hello world statement here. And so this is Python code. And so Python usually has code, and also it has comments. And so what comments are? Comments are just statements that you write in Python code so that they can explain your code. Yeah. And so you have to differentiate between a Python comment and a notebook markdown or notes. And so what you're going to do in markdown, in a markdown, is to explain your results after doing some data analysis. But using Python comments, what you're going to do is to explain. You're explaining how your code is working, why you chose this and that. That is what a comment is used for. You should differentiate it between with the markdown Markdown is used to write notes. And these notes are usually to just explain what the findings that you have come up with after doing your data analysis or visualizations. A Python comment is used to explain your code. And also sometimes the Python comment is usually used to prevent your code from running. I'll be demonstrating this. So we can write our Python comments by inserting the hash sign, hash, then you write an explanation about your code. And so we can explain what you're doing here. So we are printing hello world. We are printing hello world. And so this is a Python comment. So see, now when we run this cell, you can see the Python comments here is usually not run together with the code. So whenever we insert the hash sign just before some text in our code, what happens is that the Python kernel, the Python usually ignores these statements. Say we remove it. When we remove it, we'll get a syntax error because Python is trying to execute these statements. And in this statement, you have a couple of errors here, you can see. So to prevent it from being executed, you include the hash sign. And that's the same way that we use this application to prevent our code from being executed. Let's say you have a couple of lines, let's say 100 of lines of code. And maybe you want to test where you're getting an error in your code. So what you can do, you can just before your code there, you can insert the hash sign. And once you insert it, it becomes a comment and Python ignores it. So let's say we run this cell there. You see, nothing has been executed, nothing has been ran. So nothing, you can see the hello world statement is not printed. But once we remove it and run, the hello world is printed. And so those are the two applications of Python comments. And so that is the end of Unit 2. And so now we are going to go into the real work now, which is Python itself. So, yeah. Okay, we can now start with Python. And so what we are going to do now is we are going to look at this. That is the Python data types, the type of data that is used in Python. We're also going to look at variables. We're going to define what a variable is. We are also going to look at the print function in depth. And so we can start now. Hope we are together till there. Okay, so we can start with Python data types. So what you do, you want to write a title. So as I showed you, now we are going to use a level 2 title. And write the title data types. And so under that, we have the numerical data types. And so under the numerical data types, we have the floats, we have the integers, and floats. Next, we have the text data type. And so under the text data type, we have what we call string. And so next we have the sequence data type, And so under the sequential data types, we have the lists, we have tuples, we have we have lists and tuples. So next we have the mapping data type. And so under that, we are going to look at the dictionaries. And then we are going to end with the Boolean data types. Here we have the bool. The Boolean is essentially the true and false values. So this is what we are going to do today. We're going to look at all these data types. And so we can start with numbers. You can start with numbers. And so numbers, the numerical data types in Python usually are of two types. The first one is integer. And what integer is essentially whole numbers, positive or negative, and it can be of any size.
Hey, sorry for the interruption. Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah. Sure.
When I did my entries, they didn't go like in line items. They all came out in one single line.
Like which one? Maybe you can share. Can you share your screen so that?
Unfortunately, I'm using the phone for the Zoom and the screen for the. Let me try and zoom. Well, like you see the way you have.
Written this
numeric text each on their own line item. Mine
so
have come up with one sentence.
Oh yeah. So you see what I've done here is that you have to insert a line between the two lines. You see, I've inserted an extra line just to separate
so there's a double spacing, right?
Yeah, double space.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But this one is not even important that you write because we are going to provide you with notes.
Okay. I'm just doing it as you go. It's okay. I'm just curious. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. What is more important is just writing the code. Yeah. Okay. So. Okay. So I hope we are together. Yeah. Yeah, I can't. I'm not able to hear you clearly.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
When I run mine.
Yeah.
Num error.
Yeah.
Is not defined.
Are you able to share your screen so that I can see, because I'm not even I can't hear you clearly, or maybe you can text me in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if you can share your screen, you can just share so that I can be able to direct you. Yeah.
Hi, Ernest.
Yeah. Hi.
Are you still? Oh, I thought we lost you.
No. I'm just chatting with one of us. He's having a problem with the code. Yeah.
Oh, Stephen, the one with Tech 2.
Yeah. Techno. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Steve. I'm unable to hear you clearly. Yeah. If you're in a, yeah.
I'm using the laptop and a phone at the same time, so I'm unable to share my screen.
Hello. I'm still unable to hear you clearly. You're breaking. So you're breaking.
Yeah, I think Steve is breaking so much
that we
Hey,
can't.
Steve,
I can't
Steve,
hear you.
Hey, Steve, to reduce the usage of your bandwidth, turn off your video. It'll help you.
Okay.
I think your video is on.
Now I think you can just try and ask.
So I will say my code when I run, it gives a name error.
You're getting an error, yes?
Name integers is not found. It's not defined.
Yes, still I can't hear you clearly.
Okay. Let's continue.
I think you can you even you can just restart your bundles or your network so that maybe there is an issue with the network so that you can be able to hear you and help you out. Okay, so we can just continue. We'll sort out Steve later on. And so we were introducing data types, and I said that we have the numerical data types, the text data type, the sequence data type, the mapping data type, and the Boolean data type. And so we start with the numerical data types. And so under the numerical data type, that is in the numbers, we have integers and we have floats numbers. And so we started by integers. So remember to write your title, you have to convert your cell to a markdown. And so we write in integer, then run the cell. And so come to the next cell. And so integers are just numbers. And essentially the integers are of range from 0 to 9. It can be of any length, but the range is usually from 0 to 9. The usual numbers that we usually use, the whole numbers. And so that's the most important thing about integers. So we can say integers are whole numbers. And so that is integers. And next we have yeah, let me first give an example of an integer. And so we have numbers like 2, like one is an integer. And so in Python, we have a function or a functionality. Let's see, that helps us to know which data type we are dealing with. And for us, we are going to use the type function. Type function, it does some parentheses, and inside the function, you're going to indicate the number that you want to, whose data type you want revealed. And so for us, we want to see the data type of 1. So type, inside type, we insert the number. And so we run our cell. As you can see in here, so our number one is an integer. And so we can even try it with other numbers. Like let's write even large number. So you can see this number, you can run it. After running it, we get an integer as our result. And so here we are dealing with the integer data type. Next, we have floats. Float data type. And float, essentially, these are numbers with decimals. So decimals. That is float. An example of float is the 3.143. This is a float. So to verify this, we can use the type function. That way, inside the type function, we just copy your number in there. Copy. Inside the parentheses, insert the number there and paste. And so we run our cell. So after running our cell, we get the float as a function. And those are the two numbers. And so we have operations that are usually carried out on numbers. And these are the arithmetical operations are arithmetic operations. So arithmetic operations. And so here I'm going to introduce another way to run your cell. And so we have a shortcut, a keyboard shortcut to run your cell. And if you want to run this cell as it is, what you can do, a new shortcut to run, you tap on Shift and Enter. Shift, Enter will run this cell. That's a keyboard shortcut, and usually it's much easier to use your keyboard rather than just coming all the way up here using your cursor every time to run your cell. What you can do, Shift, Enter. It will run your cell and insert a new cell below it. That is a keyboard shortcut number 1 that I've introduced. I'll be introducing them as we go on. So to run your cell, Shift, Enter. And so under the arithmetic operations, we have addition. Another keyboard shortcut that I'm going to introduce is if you want to change, I'll introduce it later on because let me introduce it later on. So we have to change this to Markdown. Addition is the first operation. Then Shift Enter will run our cell. And so we can add numbers like 1 plus 1 and press Shift Enter to run and execute. This is addition. So for addition, use the plus sign, which is in your keyboard. So the next operation that you're going to look at, these are the common mathematical operations. And so we can also perform these mathematical operations in Python. And so the next operation that you're going to look at is subtraction. Shift Enter to run the cell. And under subtraction, we can subtract simple numbers like 3 minus 1. Minus, we use the hyphen, minus 1, that way. And shift enter to execute our cell and run it. You see, it has performed a mathematical operation, subtraction. So the next arithmetic operation we have is multiplication. We have multiplication. Shift enter to run it. And so for multiplication, we can multiply 10. For multiplication, we use the asterisk sign, which is in your keyboard, this sign, to multiply. And so we can multiply 10 by 2. Shift enter to run, and you see the result is 20. That is multiplication. Next, we have division. And so I'm going to introduce another keyboard shortcut. Say you want to convert this cell at the moment is in code mode. Say you want to convert it into to Markdown. What you can do, you have to get out of the edit mode. That is, you see the green line in here shows that we are in edit mode. So to get out of the edit mode, you just click outside the text box. Click somewhere outside. Then now we are in command mode. And so in command mode, that means we can now manipulate the cells. Yeah. In edit mode, we can only write. In command mode, we can manipulate how our cells appear. So this cell, I can move it up by using the up arrow. I can move it down using the down arrow. And so also in this cell, I can change this cell from code to Markdown option. So, but to do this, make sure that the line here is blue. That is to show that we are in command mode. So by doing that, we just tap on M for Markdown. Just tap on it, and now it becomes Markdown cell. See, it has changed here. What you do? See, we are in edit mode. Click at the sides outside the text box. On clicking on it, tap on M. Once you tap on M, it will change into a Markdown cell. And so a Markdown cell, you can use it to write your notes. And so in this case, you want to write, you want to go to the next operation, which is division. So division. Then shift enter to run it and insert a new cell below. And so for division, in Python, let's say you want to divide the number 12, you want to divide it by 3. So what you normally use, we use the / for division in Python. So / 12 / 3 and execute. See, we got our result as 4.0, and 4.0 is of the float data type. You can, and so with division, every time we perform a division operation, the result is always given in float data type, in floats. Sorry, floats. That is decimal. It results in a float answer. That way. So we can go to the next, which is the last operation. Remember, edit mode, command mode. Tap on M. We change the cell to a Markdown cell. Now we can write our notes. So Markdown. So the next operation is modulus operation. Shift enter to run. Modulus operation. And so for modulars, what you're trying to do is to find the remainder after division has been carried out between two numbers. So what we can try 13 modulus. Modulus, we use the percentage sign. That sign there, modulus 3. And so we all know that 3, when we do dividing 13 by 3, we are going to get 4, the remainder 1. And so what modulus does is that it finds the remainder after a division operation has been carried out. So we can run this and see. So after division of 13 by 3, we're going to get 4, remainder 1. And so for modulus, modulus is usually mostly, the application of modulus is usually in finding divisibility, in divisibility test. So we are testing if a number is wholly divisible by another number. And that is the application of modulus. And so I can write here. Modulus is a percentage sign, and usually finds the remainder. Division. And so these are the arithmetic operations done on numbers. And so now we are done with the numerical data types, that is integers and floats. So there. And so next, we proceed to strings. We proceed to the text type, data type. Which is strings. Of the strings. And so a string is a text type data type, and it's usually represented by writing characters with a single or a double quotes, that is. And so I can illustrate this. So string is just text in just simple language. It's just text. And so to represent text in Python, what we do, they have to be enclosed using either a single quote or a double quote. So we can have an illustration of that. Let's start with a single quote. And so this is our string. String is just text. So can execute that. We can use the type function to see the type of data to verify the type of data that you're dealing with. So inside the type function, paste and run. So you see, once we run the type function, we are going to get str in full is string. So this is a string data type. String is usually can be either represented with a single quote or a double quote. So we can go next to double quotes. Double quotes. So we run. This is also a string. We can type, select this, copy, paste, and run. See, it's still a string data type. So strings can be represented using single quotes or a double quote. And so whichever you want to use, which one to use usually depends on whether or not a particular type of quote is part of your string. Let's say if you have a single quote in your string, you are usually we use the double quotes to enclose it. Let me show you an example. So let's say we want to write we want to have our string like let's have an example that let's write our string. Remember, strings have to be enclosed in single or double quotes. Let's use single quotes first. So this, say, we can use that. That's my dog. So we can run, we can have this as our string. And so when we run this, we are going to get an error. The error is because we have an extra single quote here. And this single quote is part of our string. And so in cases like this, it's usually not recommended that you use a single quote to enclose this string. Yeah. And so to avert this kind of error, what you use a double quote to represent our string, which has a single quote in it. We have that. So when you run it, see, we don't have any error in it because we have used a different type of quotes. That is, we have used the double quotes to enclose our string, which contains a single quote in it. That way. And so these situations like this are the ones which are going to determine which type of quotes to use. And also, let's say you don't want to do this. You don't have to, every time that you write, you have a single quote in your code that you have to use a double quote to enclose that string. Say you don't want this. So Python provides an escape character. What an escape character is a symbol that it's a backslash, and it's normally used to insert illegal characters in your string. Say, for example, let's just copy this string, which had an error initially. Let's just copy it down here. So when we run it, we get an error because there exists a single quote in this string, which is enclosed by our single quotes that is. And so to avert this error, what you can also do is to include an escape character. So an escape character is the backslash. And so backslash enables us to include illegal characters or symbols in our string. And so by inserting our backslash, the single quote here is going to be accepted by Python, and no error is going to be given out. So we can run this and see. You see, after executing this string, we can get we are getting our string with no error by using the escape character. And so that is escape character. It's used to insert illegal characters inside your string. And so that is text type, data type, the strings. And now these two the integers, float, and strings. The three of them are the basic Python data type. And so now we are going to introduce another concept, then we go on to the other data types. And so the concept that I want to introduce, which you're going to be using them in the proceeding data types, are we are going to introduce the variable. We are going to introduce variables. Variables. And so in simple terms, what variables are is that a variable is just a container for storing data values. So you can just indicate it here, container. For storing data values. And that is what a variable is in simple terms. But in scientific term, is that a variable are names that point to memory locations that hold our data. That is the scientific term. But in scientific term, the variable is a name that points to a memory location that hold data. And so, but in layman's language, you can say it's just a container for storing our data values. And so we can create a variable. And so the process of creating a variable, the first thing, you must have a variable name. In our case, let's choose var as a variable name. And also we use the equal sign so that we can assign our data value to it. So we use the equal sign. Let's say we want to assign our data value. Which data value should we use? Let's assign this value to it. This 3.143. Let's assign that to it. 3.143.4. And so what we are doing here, we are assigning a value to our variable. So we are storing this value 3.143 to this variable, to this name. And so we can run this so that it can execute, it can store it. So we have stored this value to this variable called var. And so now the var, that is the name of our variable var, now contains the value 3.1434. And so to verify this, if this is true, we can write our variable name out and run. And so we can call our variable. This is the process of calling our variable and run. You see, now the value of var is 3.1434. Also, we can also print. When we print this, when we print var and run, you see the value that that comes up is 3.1434. And this is what variables are. They are containers for storing data values. And so our value has been stored in var. So variables help in a way that we don't have, every time, let's say we want to use this value in our code, we don't have to remember the whole value. Let's say in cases that you're dealing with values as large as this, something as large as this, we can store this value in our variable that way. And so every time you want to use this value, we don't have to remember it we can just remember the name of a variable and just call it. And when you call it, you see that you find that our variable contains this value. So that's how variables are helpful. We don't have to remember our values every time we want to use them. So we can print it. You see, we can have all this variable. So this process here, is variable assignments. Variable assignments. Remember, this is a comment. And here, we are calling that way. So variable assignments, we perform it by using the equal sign. We have the variable name and we have the value that we want to store in it. So that's how we perform variable assignment. So we call our variable by just writing it out. And so we find that our value is contained in the name var, in the variable var, that is. And so we usually have rules for naming our variables, because in Python you can't just give your variable any name that you want. And so we have rules. Rules for naming variables. And so rule number 1 is that a variable can start with a letter or an underscore. That is rule number 1. These are the only values that you are allowed to start with when naming your variable. So rule number 1 is a variable name can only start with a letter or an underscore. That is rule number 1. We have another rule. Rule number 2 is that a variable name can never start with a number. A variable name can never start with a number. That's rule number 2. And this is one of the most important rules. A variable name can never start with a number. So we have rule number 3. In that a variable name can only contain alphabets, numerics, or an underscore. Those are the only allowed characters in a variable name. Alphabets, numerics, or an underscore. Those 3 are the only one allowed. So you can write. Okay. So a variable name can only contain alphabets. Is this how it's spelled? Alphabets, yeah. Alphabets, numerics, and underscore. These are the only characters that a variable name can contain. And so next we have the next rule is that a variable name is case sensitive. So sensitive. So a variable name is case sensitive. And so by this, I mean that, let's say we have one variable called age, another variable called age with a capital that is capitalized, that is capital A, and an uppercase age. See, in Python, these are three different variables. Age, the lowercase age, is a variable on its own. Age with capital, the capitalized age is another variable on its own, and uppercase age is a variable on its own in Python. So these are three different variables. Okay. So these are the rules for naming your variables. And so maybe we can have a look at each of the rules and try to break them and see what will happen. So we can start with number one. And so a variable name can only start with a letter or an underscore. And so let's try starting a variable by an underscore, the name, and run this. You see, we have no error. Let's try with a starting it with a letter, M, and run it and see, no error. So let's come to number two. A variable name can never start with a number. So let's try and start this with a number. So let's say first name and run this. You see, we have a syntax error. That means a syntax error means that we have broken one of the Python's rule. And in our case, here we have broken the rule that, we have broken rule number two, that a variable name can never start with a number. So we have started the variable name with a number. If you want to write the first name, what you can do, you can have first that way. You can write first the word instead of using the number one and run this. You see, Python has accepted this as a valid variable name. And also, what you can do in cases where you want to use a number in your variable, what you can do, a number can appear anywhere, but never at the start of the name of the variable. So a number can appear after the first character of the variable name. So we can have a number here. When we run, Python accepts that. We can have it ending our variable name, name1, run. Python has accepted that. That is rule number two. We have not broken it because we have inserted number. Numbers are allowed, but you can never start a variable by a number. So numbers are allowed anywhere in the variable name, but should never start the variable name. So next is that we have variable name is case sensitive. And so we can try this out, right? We have name. We can have name, capital. Let's use their names, like John. His name. We have. We can have an uppercase name. We can have Steve. And so you can see all these have been accepted by Python because Python knows that name, see, our name, our lowercase name is a different variable that holds the name Ernest. So our capitalized name is a different variable that holds the name John. Next, our uppercase name is a different variable that holds the name Steve. That way. And remember, these are strings because they are text. Texts are usually enclosed by either a single or a double quotes in Python. And so that is variables. And also in variables, it's usually a variable name can be a single character, like let's say X. You can say X is equals to 10. That's a variable X. But you can also give descriptive names. And this one is usually the most recommended one. You give descriptive names to your values, to your variables, that is. And so you see, we can't have something like X, X being a variable that holds my name. Yeah? So that you can be able to recall maybe further down the line while you're writing your code. It's usually recommended you use descriptive names. Like we can have, we can use here first name as our variable name, so that you can hold this name. Because using X, you don't know what X is, but you can give descriptive names. Yeah. Okay. So we can go next on this variable still. We have variable naming conventions. Yeah. And so these are the are conventions which are used to guide you on how to structure your variable name. And so you can look at the variable naming conventions for naming, conventions. Oh. Your variables. So we have conventions for naming your variables. And so one of the conventions we have is we have the camel case notation, written like this, camel case notation. So these are the conventions that you're going to use while giving names to your variables. And so we have 3 of them. One is camel case notation. And with camel case notation, we have, in the case that you're giving a descriptive name to your variable, and your variable contains several words, like in my case here, first name, we can use our first convention, that is the camel case notation, to name this. And the camel case notation, just what happens with camel case notation is that the words are usually joined together, as you can see here in camel case notation. The words are joined together with the first word. The first word is usually in lowercase. but the subsequent words thereafter are usually capitalized. That is not in, they're usually capitalized. You can see camel is all lowercase. We have case. We have capitalized C. We have capitalized case. C is in capital letter. You can see notation. We have capitalized N. N is in capital letter. And so maybe I can give a brief description here. And so the words are joined together. The first word. The first word in lowercase and subsequent in subsequent words are capitalized. So that is camel case notation. The words are joined together with the first word in lowercase and subsequent words are capitalized. So we can try renaming this variable of ours here. First, that is first name, so that it can follow the camel case notation. So what we do, we have been told that the first word is in lowercase. That is first name. First is in lowercase. So first is in lowercase in our case. And so, and the subsequent words are capitalized. So we only have one subsequent word here, which is name. So we capitalized it. We capitalize it and execute. See, it has been accepted. And here we have used the camel case notation to name our variable. So that is camel case notation. So we have another convention, which is Pascal case notation. You can even write it Pascal case notation. So that way, Pascal case notation. And with Pascal case notation, it's just like the camel case notation. Words are joined together, but the difference comes in whereby we have all the words are capitalized. See, Pascal, P is capitalized. In case, C is capitalized, and in notation, N is capitalized. So it's just like just like the camel case notation. Sorry, notation. The difference is, but all words are capitalized. And that is Pascal case notation. And so we can restructure our variable name here and have it in Pascal case notation. So what we do, the first letter has to be capitalized. That is F first, and also N for name has to be capitalized. And so here we have used the Pascal case notation to name our variable that way. So next we have another convention. This convention is called the snake case notation. You just write it snake case. The snake case notation. And so in snake case notation, you notice that as I've illustrated here with the name, is that all words are in lowercase. that is number one, and they are separated by underscores. So it's as simple as that. So all words are in lowercase, but they're separated by underscores. And so we can restructure a variable name up here that it can follow the snake case notation. So the first thing we do, we make sure that all words are in lowercase first. Then we use underscores to separate our words. And then we use and also ensure that the next word is in lowercase too. And so this is snake case notation. Of these three notations, you can use any. You can feel free to try with any, but normally the one that is mostly recommended is usually the snake case notation. And so this is the one that is mostly recommended. So the snake case notation is the one which we usually use in our case here for training. And so this is the most recommended because, as you can see, it is easily readability of it is easy because the words are not joined together. We have the underscore, which make up some space between words. So you can read your words, your variable names easily. And that's one advantage about the snake case notation. And that's why it's mostly recommended to use the snake case notation to name your variables. And so one last thing before we go for a 10-minute break is that, see, there are names which are not, there. We have keywords in Python. And what keywords are, these are names that have reserved meaning in Python. And so keywords are not used, should never be used to name your variables. And so write keywords. Keywords. And so Python has a set of keywords that are reserved for special use in Python. And so they are not normally used to name our variables, the keywords. So we can have a look at the keywords. Maybe we have the help function. The help function is just functions like the help up here. So you just type help and you search what you want help with. In our case, you want to know the keywords that you're not supposed to use. So keywords, oh, sorry, keyword. It's supposed to be this keyword. Oh, it's supposed to be in lowercase. Yeah. And so here is a list of Python keywords. We have false, we have none, we have true, and, as, assert, async, await, break, class, continue, def, del, elif, else, except, finally, for, from, global, if, import, in, is, lambda, non-local, not, or, pass, raise, return, try, while, with, and yield. And so these words, we are going to encounter them because further in the course. And normally, these words are usually reserved. They have a meaning in Python. And so we can never use these words to name our variables. And so that is keywords. And so I think we can go for a 10-minute break and come back at 10:25. Yeah, unless there is anyone with a question or you want to be assisted in something, you can reach out to me during the break as others disperse. So
I hope you meant 11:25.
Yeah, 11:25. Yeah, we are going to take a 10-minute break. So I think we can continue. Yeah, we can continue. Let me wait. We have a few people that left. So I think we can just continue as the others join us. So we are going to look at the next. We are going to introduce another concept. And the next concept that we're going to introduce is the print function. The print. The print function that we used it as while writing our first Python code. We can introduce it now. And so the print is a function. We said that. And a function is a piece of code in Python that is used to perform a specific task. That is what a function is. And so you can define a function. A piece of code that performs a specific task. And so in our case, the print function, what it does, it displays output to us. So in our case, as simple as that. So print displays output. And so we were able to use the print function initially to print the statement hello world. Also, I think my how is this? To stop. Oh, so this is what I was talking about initially when I said we can stop, we can interrupt kernel, we can restart it, we can clear outputs, and all this. So in my case, you find that I've run the print function so that it can print the hello world, the hello statement. But in my case, it's taking a lot of time. It has taken a lot of time to execute. It hasn't even yet finished executing. And this has happened because I used the print function, the help function before, because with that, it continues executing. So I think there is some error in my kernel. So what you do in cases where you find that your cell is executing, and you know that your cell is executing when it has, see, inside the square brackets, in the cell label, inside the square brackets, you have the asterisk. The asterisk means that your cell is still executing. And so when the asterisk turns into a number, it means that the cell has finished executing, and it has executed as number this and this. And in our case, like up here, while we created this variable first name using the snake case notation, what happened here is that our cell executed, and it executed as number 48, as the 48th cell. It was the 48th cell to be executed. So that's what the number is means, the number in here. It doesn't mean the cell number. Well, most of people usually confuse it with the cell number, but usually the execution number in the list of the cells that have been executed. So what we can do in this case, you can just restart and run all cells. So you see here, our kernel is restarting. So I want to restart. Oh, okay. So our kernel has restarted and has sorry, let's restart it again. So kernel has restarted and has started running the cells from cell number 1. It has started executing them one by one. And so the number that is indicated here is the execution number. So that means that this cell has been the third to be executed. This is the 4th to be executed. This is the 5th to be executed, that way till down here. So yeah, can continue executing. Yeah, until now we have our print function. A print function there. And so we say that a function is a piece of code that performs a specific task. In our case, the print displays output. And so we want to print hello. So we are going to get our output as hello there. And so with print, we can use the format. There's another function called format. Format to display variables in our output. So we have formats. We have formats, and so we have the format function that is usually used hand in hand with print function. And the work of format, the format is to display, variable in the outputs. I'll be able to illustrate this in the outputs. And so format displays variable in the output, and the output is displayed by the print function. So you can continue running. And so we can first create our variables. Say we can create age and give it the value like 43. We can have name and give the value Peter. Next, we can have we can have these two for illustration. And so say we want to print a statement that includes these two values. We want to include these two values in a statement that we are printing. Say in the case that we want to print something like this, print let's say print my age is, we want to print something like this. My age is 43 and my name is Peter. Say you want to print this, something that looks like this. And so we can use variables. We can use the format function to insert the variable values inside our printed statements, without every time that we want to print. Maybe let's say we have a huge data of a huge data of different ages, and so every time we have to print a statement that looks like this, we'll just have to repeat the print statement using this, every time changing our statement, that is. And so that is tedious work. So we have the format function which can insert a variable. And so the variable values can vary at any time. And so to insert these values inside a statement like this, what we use the format function. So how we do it, you can follow along. Print. So we want to print the statement. So my age is and so we include placeholders. We include a placeholder, and a placeholder is the curly braces inside our statement. So include a placeholder, and so we continue with our statement. My name is, then include another placeholder. And so these placeholders, they just hold space for the values of our variables to be inserted into. And so then after this, we are going to use the formats. And inside the format function, and what format does, it formats the variable values and inserts them into the placeholders. So inside the format function, we include our two variables, that is the age and name. We run. As you can see, what has happened is that format has formatted the value of age, that's 43, and has inserted it into the first placeholder. Then it has formatted the value of the name, of the variable name, which is Peter, and has inserted it into the second placeholder that way. And note that with this, how you indicate your variables inside the format function determines their positions in the placeholder. Say, for example, say we have name coming first and age coming second. And you run. You see now the statement is a bit weird. So now we have my age is Peter and my name is 43. That is because we have changed how the order in which the variables should appear in the format. So with the format function is usually strict on the order. And so you should maintain the order in which you want the variables to appear in your statement. And so we have this. And so this format. And so in cases where you're dealing with a very large number of variables and you don't have time to put them in a certain order in the format function, inside the placeholders, what we can do, we can create variables inside the placeholders. Let me just illustrate it using another example. Well, let's illustrate when they're out of position. We have name and age. These are out of position. So you see, so again, we can have a statement this way. And so we can have inside the placeholders, we can have some variables like 1. And inside the second placeholder, we can have another variable like 2. And so what these variables help us to do, they help us in assigning values, in assigning the our original, our age and name values into which placeholder, into the placeholder that we want. And so to insert, let's say you want to insert age into the placeholder number 1, indicated by 1 here. What you do, you say 1, inside the format function, 1 equals to age. So that, and if you want to insert the name into the placeholder number 2, what you can do, you say 2 is equals to name. And we can run this and see. And now you can see we have my age is 43 and my name is Peter. And with this, it doesn't matter how the variables appear in the format function. So say we can have age coming as the second variable in the format function. You see, we can have age coming as a second variable, and you can see still the order is still maintained because we have assigned inside the placeholders, we have assigned some variables, and these variables are going to assign the values of our original variables, that is age and name, and that is format function in Python. So we have the print function. Print, what it does, it displays outputs. We have been able to print the hello statement. You see, we have gotten our output as hello. And so we say that we have formats. And so what format does, that it formats variable, it's variable values into the output. So that's the work of the format function. It formats the variable values into the output statements. And so we have said that print and format are used hand in hand. And so we had our age variable, which had the value 43, and the name variable, which had the value Peter. And so we wanted to print a statement that looks like this. Print, my age is 43 and my name is Peter. And so we said that we can use placeholders. And what?
Ernest.
Yeah.
Ernest.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm Steve.
Okay.
I want to rush to somewhere to attend to something. Yeah, so I might not be able to finish up to around 1.
Okay, sir. But the class is going to finish up at around 12:15 there.
12.
Yeah,
Sawa.
12:15.
I'll be able maybe to catch it later, please.
Okay, sir. No problem. You can just get the recording later.
Sawa.
Sir. Yeah.
This Patrick, at the format function, you need to be right because the word is the name of the function format. When we are defining, we use another word like we can say the format function. Instead of saying formats variable values into the output statement, we say maybe assigns variable values into the output statement. So say that
Yeah, true. So format function just assigns the variable values to the placeholders in the statement. We can say that. Yeah, thank you, Patrick. And so we can say so it assigns variable values to the placeholders in the output statement. I think this is more clear. So you wanted to print a statement that looks like this using our variables. And so what we did was to, where we wanted our values from the variables to appear, we used our placeholders. And the placeholders, we have said that the curly braces that we are going to use. And so my edges, we insert curly braces and closing, and that will be a placeholder. And my name is, we insert a placeholder. After that, we use the dots. Use the dot functionality so that we can apply this function to our statements. And so dot format edge, and edge will be assigned to the first placeholder. Next, name will be assigned to the second placeholder. But we notice that this is strict in terms of the order in which you have inserted you have inserted them in the format function. So let's say if you have name coming first, this means that name will be assigned to the first placeholder. If age comes second, it will be assigned to the second placeholder. But we saw that there's another way that we can escape from this kind of issue. So what we did was to, inside the placeholders, we inserted variable names for the placeholders. And so placeholder number 1, we indicated that it's 1. Placeholder number 2, we indicated it as 2. And so we later on in the format function, what we did was to assign the placeholder to a variable. And so we assigned the placeholder number 1 to the edge. And what will happen? Format will take the value of the edge and insert it into the placeholder number 1. Same applies for what we did for the placeholder number 2, where we assigned it to the name. And so format what we'll do, it will take the value of the name and assign it to the placeholder number 2 here. And that is print function. And so next we can just continue with the next data type. And this is, and so we are going to look at the sequence data types. Sequence data types. And so for today, we are going to look at only one, that is the list data type, the lists. So yeah. We have the list. And so a list is a collection of data. And so it's a collection of data which is ordered and changeable. So a list is just like the list that we normally write out so that we can have things ordered in a certain way. That's the same application that Python does with its list data type. And so a list is a collection of data, which is number one. It is ordered, so we can write. And so a collection of data which is ordered and changeable. So that is a list. A list is a collection of data which is ordered and changeable. And so lists in Python are usually indicated using the square brackets. Square brackets that way. And inside the square brackets, we can have the elements or the list items inside the square brackets. We can have list. You can have the list items, like you can have item 0, we can have item 1, we can have item 2, we can have item 3, that way. And so this is a list. And one thing that should note in Python is that Python usually starts counting from 0. By that we mean that Python is a zero index language, in that normally, usually it counts from the number 0. And so the first the first item in a list will be item number 0. And the second item in a list will be item number 1. The third will be item number 2. The fourth will be item number 3. And that is Python's way of counting. And so you can write here, Python is a zero index. That it starts counting. That's counting from 0. And so, yeah. So that way. And so a list is a collection of data which is ordered and changeable. And this is an example, a syntax of how lists appear. And so list, we have our list name here. That's the variable name, our list name. And then the equal sign, we have the list. And lists are usually indicated using the square brackets. And inside the square brackets, we are going to have list items. The list items are going to be separated by commas. They are comma separated. That. So the list items are comma separated. And note that a list is a collection of data. And so this data can be either numbers, that's float, or integers. It can also be strings. So it's up to what your the type of list that you're creating. So we can start by creating a list. We can give it the name my list. Here you have used the snake case notation here, and so I want my list to be a list of names. have you can have a list of names. You can have Robin. Have Patrick. Yeah. So here is a list of names, and note that I have these names are strings, that is a text type, and so whenever we write a text type, we have to enclose them. We have to enclose them with quotation marks. You can see, and so there I've created my list. And so I can call my lists and execute and see. So this is my list that I have. And so in list, we have the len function that is in full length. And what length does is that it gets the length. It finds for us the length of our list. So it's the length. So if you want to find the length of your list, you use the len function. So we want to find the length of our list. That is my list. So what we do, my list. Insert it in there. So, and execute. And you see, we have 5 items. Length returns the items, the number of items, length or the number of items in our list. Number of items in our list. That is what the len function does. And so next, we can access items from our list. And so we can have a small subtopic here. Accessing items. It's in list items. So let's say you want to get the name number 1 here, the first name here in our list. So what you do, you write the list name. Sorry. Have the list name followed by square brackets, and inside the square brackets, you are going to insert the index position. And the index position is usually the position of this of these items, how they appear in the list. And so we said that Python is a 0 index language, and that it starts counting from 0. So for us to get the item number 1 here, Ernest, so you want to get it. So we have to write to inside the square brackets, we indicate the index position of Ernest. The index position of Ernest is 0. And so when we run this, we are going to get the result as Ernest. So it has fetched the first item in this list. That is accessing list item. You say you want to access the name Patrick in this list. So what you do, the list name, square brackets, inside the square brackets, you insert the index position of the name Patrick. So we can start counting from Ernest is 0, John is 1, Robin is 3, Robin is 2, Patrick is 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So inside the square brackets, insert the number 3 to get Patrick and see. And that is how we access items in Python. And also, in cases where you find that your list is very long and you want to get the last item in your list, what you can do to get our list, last item, which is Solace, the name Solace, what you can do, Inside the square brackets, you insert the number -1. So -1 in Python, what we're trying to do, we're trying to get the item from the back. So -1 is the last position in Python list. And so it will get the name. And so we can just continue with back selection. This is what we call back selection. We can select the second last item, Patrick, by using the -2. -2 means the second last item. We can also do for the third last item. To do my list, inside the square brackets, -3. -3 will get for us the third last item in that list, and that is accessing list items in Python. Next, we can access range of items. Can access range of items in Python. And say we have our list, which is my list. And say we want to select the names in ranges. Say you want to select the name from Ernest to Robin. So what we do in Python is that you write the list name, my list, square brackets, and what you start with is you start with the start position, where you want to start, the start position. And my start position is Ernest, and Ernest is at position index number 0. So we start from 0. Then we use the colons to indicate the range to where do we want our range to get the items to. So we want to select from Ernest to Robin. So we just need the stop index so that we can fetch the item. So the stop index is at Robin. So Robin is at position index number 2 in our case. So insert 2 and run. And so you see what has happened here is that we were expecting that the range of items that will be returned will go till the name Robin. But in our case, it has only selected Ernest and John. The reason for this is that Python, you see that the stop index in Python, that is the stop value in Python, is normally excluded. So the stop value in Python is usually excluded. So what Python did here, it selected from Ernest to Robin, yes, but it usually excludes the stop. And we stopped at Robin. So this stop value, Python will just automatically exclude it. And so by indicating our range from 0 to 2, we'll only select Ernest and John. It will only display Ernest and John. It will select from Ernest to Robin, but Robin here is our stop value. And stop value in Python is usually excluded. So in the case that we want to select from Ernest all the way to Robin, what we do, we increment our stop value here. We increment it to the number 3 so that it can fetch, it can select from Ernest to Patrick. But you see here, Patrick is at index number 3, so it's our stop value. And this and our Patrick item will be excluded from the selection, that is. And so when we select from 0 to the item number 3, to the item at index position number 3, that is Patrick will be excluded, but Robin will be included. And so when we run this, see what you get. My list from 0, that's the start value. The stop value is number 3. The stop value in real sense, it's supposed to stop at Patrick. But at Patrick, Python automatically excludes the stop value. That would. And so we can do another selection. And say you want to select from, let's say you want to select from John. Let's say we want to select from Ernest to Patrick again. You want to fetch your items from Ernest to Patrick. So what happens? Indicate the start index 0 to start from Ernest. And so you want it to select till Patrick. Patrick is at position index number, you can say 0, 1, 2, 3. 3. But in our case, you want Patrick not to be excluded. You want the name to be included in our selection. And so what we do, we increase the stop value so that it can go to Solace. And so it will execute the name, it will exclude the name, but it will keep our name here, our name Patrick, which is at index number 3. So what we do, we select from 0 to 4 and run. And so here we have selected from Ernest to Patrick. And that's how selection happens. Selection in range selection in Python happens. And so we can have another example. And usually one thing is that when we are selecting from the start, so we are selecting from the start, which is Ernest. We don't have, there is no need. You can include the start value or not. That is, if you are selecting for the beginning of the list. So in our case, we are starting from the start, from the first item in this list. So you can just choose to not write the start value 0 and just leave it blank. So what Python will do, Python will notice that you want, it will just automatically by default start selection from the first position, Ernest, to the third position. And so when you run this, we get the same result. Instead of, you can choose to indicate the start position or not. That is if you are beginning from the start of the lists. And so in our case, we want to begin from Ernest. We can choose to indicate that you want to begin from the position index number 0. You can choose it, still gives us the same result, or we can just remove it because we are starting from the start. And we want to go all the way until the third. And so this also applies when you want to select. So we have my list. So I want to select, let's say I want to select from John till the end of the list. So what I can do, the first thing I can indicate the start position as 1, use the colon. Thereafter, you just leave it blank. And what this will do, you'll select from John till the end of the list. So when you run it, you can see it selected all from John to the end of the list. What I had explained above there, you can do it again. So let's say we want to begin from the list until where Patrick, the name Patrick is. So what you do, you leave blank the start value, because Python will by default start from the beginning of the list. Use the colon and then indicate the stop position. So we want to stop at Patrick. Patrick is at position number 0, 1, 2, 3. Patrick is at position number 3. But for it to be included in our output, we have to select to position number 4. So we put number 4. there. See, you have selected from Ernest, John, Robin to Patrick, and that is accessing items from Python. So is there any question on this? Because this is usually very challenging, a little bit challenging and confusing sometimes. So anything that you would like me to clarify on this before we continue on? Okay, so we can continue and go to changing. You want to change the item values, change so say we have our lists. List. Yeah. Here we have this list, and we want to change a list item among this. Say we want to change. You want to change this name Ernest to another name. So how do we do it? So what we do, again, the list name. After the list name, use the square brackets. In the square brackets, you select the item which you want to change. So in our case, you want to change item, the first item, Ernest, which is at position 0. And then we use the equal sign, that is the assignment operator, the equal sign, to assign another value, an alternative value for the item. And so you want to change it to Eric. So by doing this, we are going to, the first thing what we have done, you have selected the item that you want to change, and we have used the equal sign to assign another value to it. And so you can run this. So after running, you can just call your lists to display. You can run. After calling our list, you see here we have, in place of Ernest, we have Eric. And so this is how we have changed that. And so we can do the same for, you can select any position. You select the position of the item that you want to change. Say we want to change the position, we want to change Robin. So what you do, you find the position of Robin, and the position of Robin is 2. And after that, you assign a value to that position. And so you want to change that. And so when you when we display our list, it comes with changed values. See, in place of Ernest, we have now Eric. In place of Robin, now we have Victor in place. And so you can look at another thing about list, and that is adding items. Adding items to lists. So to add items to list, you can use append, the append function. Function or method, you can call it any. Append function or method. Sometimes it's referred to as a method because append is a function that belongs to list. List is an object. And so that's the difference between a method and a function, but it's still a function. You can call it either a function or a method. They're all the same in our case here. And so we have append. And so you can have a look at our list again. My list. And this is our list. And so in this list, we want to add an extra name in this list. Say we can add back Robin. Say we want to add Robin in this list. What you do, write my list. And then we use the dot sign to apply the method or function append. Dot append. So, and inside the append brackets, what you do, you insert the value that you want added to your list. So in our case, you want to add the name Robin back to our list. And so we run it. And so once we run it, you can call our list. And now our list contains an extra name that has been added called Robin. And that is append function. That's how it works. So we can add another name. Here we have my list. Use dot to apply the method to our list. Dot append is our method. So inside the append parenthesis, you insert the value that you want added to your list. So we can add a list back. Then we call our list again and run. You see now we have included, we have added an extra name, Ernest and Robin, and that is append. And also usually, and we have another way of adding items to a list. We can use this way. We are going to use the insert. Sorry, insert. Can use the insert function. And so what insert does, it adds an item to a specific location in the list. With append, we are only able to add an item at the end of the list. Yeah, but with insert, it allows us to add an item at a specific point in the list, at a specific position in the list. And so we can do this. We have my lists. Use dot insert. And inside the insert brackets, what you do, the first thing you indicate the position that you want your new item to appear. And so in my case, I want my item to appear at position number 2. Or we can start with position number 1 first. I want it to appear at position 0, which is the first item. We want our item to appear as the first item in the list. After that, you separate it with a comma. After that, you insert the value now that you want added to your list. Say you want to add the name Susan to be at the start of my list. You can just add to it. Then you can run and see. And see now that Susan is now has been added to our list, but has been added at the position number 1, at the 0th position in our lists. And so we can also add another name at a different position. So let's say my list dot insert. We insert this insert parenthesis. In the insert brackets, what you do, you indicate the position that you want the name to appear. You see, I want the position of my item. I want it to appear at position number 3. that this number 3 is the index position number 3. That is, so it will appear as the 4th item in our lists. And so we want it to appear at position number 3. And so you can add the name, the item, Victoria. And down here you can call your list so that you can have a look at it. Okay? And see. Now Victoria has been added to the 3rd position. That is, position number 0 belongs to Susan, number 1 belongs to Eric, John, number 2, Victoria, number 3. That way. And that is insert. And so this was adding items to list. You have 2 ways: append and insert. Insert, we can specify the position where we want our item to be inserted. With append, it just adds items at the end of the list. So we can go next. Remove, to remove an item from the list. Remove item from list. Remove item from the list. So also, to remove items from the list, we have different ways of doing it, just as we had for removing for adding items to lists. And so number 1, we can use the remove function or method, the remove function. And what remove does, it removes an item from the list after you have indicated the value or the name of the item. So let me demonstrate this. To remove item, first write the list name, my list dot remove. And so inside the parentheses, we specify which item you want removed from your list. In our case, you want to remove, let's say you want to remove Victoria. So you indicate that you want to remove Victoria from the list. So we can have a look at, you want to remove Victoria from the list and run, and you can see. Now Victoria, which who was existing in our list, has now been removed from our list. That is remove function. Next, we have pop function. And what pop does, pop removes item specified by the index position. So we can have my list there dot pop. Inside the pop parenthesis, you indicate the item, the position of the item which you want to remove. Say you want to remove Susan, you indicate inside the pop parenthesis index 0. You want to remove that, so you can just call back the list, and we can run this. Oh, sorry, my list, and run this. You can see Susan has been removed from the list by indicating the position, by indicating her position in the list. Also, we can also remove, so you want to remove Victor, just count the position of Victor in the list. So 0, 1, 2, 3. We want to remove Victor, is at position number 3. No, in our case, Victor, because already Susan has been removed, in our case, Victor will be at position number 2. So get number 2. And so you see, Victor has been removed from the list by indicating the position where Victor is in the list, and that is pop. And one thing about pop is that by default, if you don't indicate the position that you want pop to remove, the position of the item that you don't that you want pop to remove, it will remove by default. It will remove the last item in the list. So we can try it out. My list and run. So what we expect here, we expect that the name Ernest will be removed from the list. So we can just run this and see. You can see by default, if you don't indicate the position, it will just automatically remove the last item in the list, and that is pop. And that is removing items from lists. So next, we can look at joining. Joining lists. Look at joining lists, and for joining lists, for joining lists, we usually have the extend method. The extend method is used to join lists to lists. So we can create two lists. First one, you can call it a list. In a list, you can make a list of numbers now. 5. That is our first list. Then we can create our second list, the B list. Yeah. And B list starts from number 6, 7, 8, 9 to 10. So here we have our two lists. We create them. So we have A list and B list. And say we want to combine these two lists into one. So how we do this is by using the extend method. So what you do, you want to join list B to A. So what you do, you start with the list A list dot extend, and inside the extend method, you indicate the other list that you want joined to your A list. In our case, you want the B list to be joined to it. And so we have B list. Yeah, B list and run. And so when we call our A list now, we expect the list to be bigger. Let's verify this. And now you can see that now the elements or the list items belonging to the B list have been included into the A list. You see now our list starts from 0 to 10. Initially, our A list started from 1 to 5. Now we have extended it using the B list items. And now it runs to from 7 to 10 have been included in our A list. And that is joining list. We use the extend. We use the extend function to do that. So you can look at the next thing as we wrap up. The next thing is ordering. Or sorting. So let's just call it ordering items. Ordering items. And so ordering items, for ordering items, we have sort. We have the sort function or method. And so the sort, what sort does, it just sorts item alphabetically in ascending order. And so what you do, what you have, let's say, you can use our lists, my lists. So you can have this list. And so we can use the sort method to sort these items, to rearrange these items in an alphabetic format in ascending order. So what you do, you write the list name, my list dot sort. Now we can call our lists and see. You can see now our list is sorted. Initially, our list will ended with started with Eric, John, Patrick, Soles, and you see Soles is in the alphabetic order. You see here we have items that are out of order in the alphabetical order. That is Soles and Robin. So by using the sort function, what we have done here, we have sorted the item in an alphabetic order in ascending order. So Eric comes first, John, followed by John, followed by Patrick, followed by Robin. Here's where the change has happened. And we have finished by Soles as our last item. So we have sorted this list out in ascending order. So we can also sort, let me create a numerical list. So n list, numerical list, can have numbers in which are not sorted, like just have them in random order. Let's have them in random order. So this is our list. So we can sort this in ascending order. Dot sort using the list name dot sort and there. And now you see it has been sorted in ascending order. Initially, it was our list was unsorted, and so we used the sort method to sort out the list in ascending order. So next, we are going to look at another function called reverse. Reverse function or method. And so what reverse function does, it doesn't sort items in let's say in descending order. It just reverses reverse to be reverse, sorry, reverse, yeah, that way, reverse. So what reverse does, it reverses the order in which our items appear. Say in our case, we have our n list, which is already sorted in ascending order, n list. These are our list. This is our list, and the items are sorted in ascending order. We can reverse the order in which these items appear. Now, our new n list will have the first item being 90, 81 being the second item, 7 being the third item. So we can use dot, we can n list dot reverse and list.reverse this. So once we run it, then we call the list. See, now the items have been reversed. They have not been sorted, but they have been reversed. Maybe I can show you with with a better example. Like let's have this as our list, as our end list. We can have our original lists, original numerical lists. So this is our numerical list. When you use the reverse function, what it does, it just changes the order in a reverse kind of way, in that you find the last item becomes our first item and our first item becomes our last item. That is what it just does. So we can try it out, and you see now what we have. The items are not sorted in any kind of order. They are just reversed, and that is what reverse function does. And also, you see, since in Python we are limited only to sorts, we are limited only to sorting items in ascending order, that is in Python. But in other libraries, we can sort items in ascending or descending order. Since we are limited to sort, we can use the two of them hand in hand. So what we can do, if you want to sort items in, we want to sort in descending order. We want to sort items in descending order. So let's have our lists. That is the end list. We have our list there. And so to sort this list items in descending order, what you can do, you can have it first. You can sort it in ascending order using the dot sort method. Then we'll have our list in a sorted in ascending order. But then we can also thereafter reverse. Can also thereafter reverse the arrangement of the items in our sorted lists. Let me first. So n lists. And so we have used our dot sort method to sort these items in the end list in ascending order. As you can see now, they're in ascending order. And then we can use the dot reverse to reverse order these items that are sorted. So we'll have 90 coming first. And what has happened? And lists. So we'll have 90 coming first, 81 coming second, and 2 coming last. And what has really happened here is that we have sorted these items in descending order. That's in the opposite direction of ascending order. We can use the two hand in hand to do that. But don't worry about this, because you're not even going to be using this sort function in our data analysis, because we have pandas which has a pretty strong sort function, which we're going to look at much later. And so next we are going to look at one last thing, then we call it a day. One last thing, that is converting. Converting a string to a list. Converting a string to a list. So we can have a string called my string, and that string have the value, let's say my name is Ernest. That is my string. And so we can convert this string to a list. And to do that, we use the split function or method, the split. Use splits. And so we want to split this string of ours. What you do, write the string name, my string, dot split, and inside the split, inside the split brackets, you indicate the symbol. You indicate the symbol on which we are going to split the string. In our case, say we want to split these words to be individual items in a list. And so what our symbol of splitting will be, it will be space, because between these two words, between the words, we have space. We have space. And so what you're going to do inside the split function, you're going to put a space there. Or you can put a space that way. And run. Space. We have the space as our point of split. That is split. So we have splitted the words in this string on the space between them, using the space between them, and inserted them in a list using the dot split method. And with split, inside the parentheses, you indicate the symbol which you want to use to split the string on. We can have another example. Yeah, you can have another example. My string 2. And with this, we can have a string containing words like 1. You can have 2. You can have 3. You can have 4. Say this is our string, right? And so we can split these words. We can split these words and insert them into a list as individual items. And so with split, as you said, you write my string, that is the string name, string 2, dot split. And inside the split brackets, you indicate the symbol that you want to split on. And in our case, we want to split on the underscore. So inside here, you indicate the symbol. Our case is the underscore. So you run. After running, you see it has been splitted on the underscore that way. That way. You see, you notice here, what I did was I have removed this split symbol from one of the two words and inserted a space between them. And so, but in my split function, I've indicated that we split these words on the underscores. And so when we run this, what will happen is that we'll split only where the underscores are. So 1 will be splitted from 2. And so we have 1 as one of our list item. Then it will come here, 2, 3. There's no underscore in between them. So it will just jump 2, 3, 4. There is an underscore between them. So it will split 2, 3 will come out as one list item, as you can see here in the case, and 4 will come as one list item again. And so that is split, and that marks the end of strings and the end of our class today. We'll continue on to other data types next week and finish on Python in next week's class. So yeah, that marks the end. So Eric.
Hi, no, just came in to check what was going on, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we are done with the class. See you guys next Saturday. Or if you have any question that you want to ask, you can ask. You can even reach me during the weekdays if you need a makeup session or a recap session whereby we just will be able to guide you through during the week. You can set it up by contacting Eric or Mary or even me. So thank you for today. That's all for today. Okay, goodbye, guys.
So, goodbye.